Hey everyone, we are the Cinema Troopers. My name is Josh.
And I'm Patrick, and this is our review of Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
We've a mission for you.
Ready?
So to begin, we're just going to give our initial reaction on what we thought, what we liked, what we didn't like. It's going to be completely spoiler free. Afterwards, that's when we'll go into the in-depth discussion. It's just so people who haven't seen the film yet can get an idea of what to expect.
Yeah. So let's get started. What did you think?
So I thought the story is fantastic. I thought all the way through I was engaged. The characters were fantastic. They weren't as developed as what I'd quite like. There wasn't quite enough depth to all of them. But I think overall they were very strong characters, brilliant performances all the way through the board. I think you yourself mentioned music. It wasn't too memorable.
Yeah.
It was Star Wars, but it was quite flat for Star Wars. And then our engineer over there, he mentioned something which I think is a great way to sum up this film, is that it complements Star Wars so well and it fits into the larger picture of the trilogy and the further on universe really well.
I mean, I totally agree with most of what you said. Especially the characters. I didn't expect to like the characters so much because from what I'd seen from the trailers, I don't know, I didn't really connect with them. But I do think they were really well rounded, and I actually cared. Like when things happen, I felt invested with them. Generally, I loved the film. I really, really liked it. Definitely up there in terms of my favourite Star Wars films. And it felt like a Star Wars film, totally. In comparison to The Force Awakens, it felt even more like a Star Wars film because it's right in the heart of Empire rule. When watching it, there were so many scenes where I was like, this could be a scene from A New Hope. It felt like a lot of the certain things that we'll talk about later. It just felt proper Star Wars, but at the same time, it was different.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is this, as a Star Wars film, it is not a kid's Star Wars film. I probably wouldn't take a child to it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like the phrase people keep bringing up. It's a war film, and that was
a war film.
Coming up to film, people are saying, "Oh, is it as much a war film as we want?" And it was, I think.
Yeah, totally. And that actually really surprised me because I knew it was going to be darker, but I didn't know it was going to be this dark. But I mean, you either have seen that for yourself or we'll see. But I think to me, a couple standouts were K2SO. For sure, I think we're both agreed on that.
And it was really funny.
Yeah, really funny.
Especially K2SO.
But I think the humour complemented the tone of the film when it needed to.
Yeah.
I think Chirrut Donnie Yen, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And of course Felicity Jones, she really did carry the film. And then I think it's Cassian Andor, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great throughout the film. So.
Yeah. So should we get into spoiler territory?
Spoiler territory. So you've had your warning. Hopefully there'll be some sort of visual cue around. But from now on, if you haven't seen the film, please do not continue.
Do not continue. We don't want to ruin it for you, okay?
Wait until you've seen the film. You'll see it shortly, I'm sure.
And it'll be so much better if you don't. If you know as little as possible, I think.
Okay, so from now, we will begin. So where to begin? Positives and negatives. Negatives. Okay, so do you want to start? After you.
Yeah, okay, negatives. To be honest, there's not very many negatives for me. We mentioned the music. This isn't really spoiler territory, but the music was... Because they changed composer, Michael Giacchino, who's one of my favourite composers. I love his Star Trek soundtracks, and I love his Planet of the Apes soundtracks, some of my favourites. He only had a few weeks to actually get it done because they changed composers. And so that kind of gives reason why it wasn't as good. The music felt like Star Wars music, but
it's a bit flat.
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't have that impact. There weren't moments where I was like, oh yeah, the music is adding something.
Listen to this, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not a soundtrack I would necessarily I need to listen to right now. What else? Negatives. There was a lot of CGI in the film. Well, there wasn't a lot of CGI, but there were some standout things, such as Tarkin, obviously, which was incredible, but I felt it was noticeable, and it kind of, I don't know, put me off a little bit. But I think part of that is because we saw it on the biggest screen in Britain.
Yeah, we didn't mention that we went to the BFI IMAX in London, and it was an incredible screening. I felt we saw it in 17mm film, and that really did add to the Star Wars experience. I think.
Yeah.
For you said about Tarkin, I think the technology they've got now is incredible.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And what they were able to do with his performance, I felt would sell on a small screen for sure. I think, like you said, because it was a bigger screen, it was probably a little bit more noticeable. But nonetheless, incredible. There was a lot of CGI, but with K2SO, I didn't necessarily notice it as much as you said you did.
Yeah, K2SO, I could notice it was CGI, but only like slightly. Again, probably the big screen.
I knew he was CGI, but it never came into my mind. So I think with my negatives, personally, the font at the start of the film. I think we can both agree with that. So they have a font come in, it says Rogue One, and it looks like someone just went into sort of iMovie.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, PowerPoint, and just put in Times New Roman and put in Rogue One with an outline. It really was.
It was jarring, I think.
Yeah, for sure, it was very jarring. And for that to be one of my main negatives says a lot about the film, I think.
What about the crew? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, the crew. I personally, I think we're on a different viewpoint for this.
Yeah.
But I really feel that they need a crew in this film. I felt that really was lacking. I felt, to me, that is Star Wars. That is where it all began. And I feel like even though these are different and these are Star Wars stories, I think that for these stories you do need a bit of backstory for the lesser fans, the people who aren't so involved in the wider universe.
But I don't know. I feel like the Star Wars story, or anthologies as they were going to be called, those Star Wars films are kind of more for the people who are already like big fans. So you don't need the cool. We don't need to know it's the Empire rule. We know that. Just like a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, bam, we're in.
Of course. Yeah, I just feel like maybe in a sense like you lose the wider fans, and you might lose their.
It must be a bit confusing.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like being in the action, making something different, but at the same time, I think for maybe someone who's only seen the saga films. I mean, of course, but I mean, they're not gonna have the understanding of what we do, like how we see things in Rebels or the books or the comics or whatever else is out there, the games, and. I really felt that was lacking. But I think, to me personally, like, they're my real only negatives. I think there was a certain point in the film, just sort of between, like, the middle, the sort of end in the middle towards the sort of final of the film.
Right.
I felt that sort of dragged slightly. I felt like it went a bit long. They took quite a lot of time getting to where they needed to be. But I mean, more Star Wars the better, right? So
we haven't mentioned that the first scene with Vader. For me, that was I was so excited to see Vader again, like really really excited. And his first scene, to me, it didn't feel like it was Darth Vader. He felt very gimmicky. Like this might sound like I'm being like very specific, but like his walk didn't feel right. He just didn't have the presence, and some of the lines, it was very, like you mentioned earlier, like the comedy, it didn't feel like Darth Vader,
No, totally. I brought that up earlier, and I think that they tried to make Darth Vader funny in a way that was a bit jarring for me. I've never seen Darth Vader as a funny character.
No, not at all.
So I think they sort of stepped over the mark a bit there. But I mean, they made up for it later in the film, right? I mean,
I like the choking in that scene actually. The choking, I'm not sure about the kind of turn.
Just a turn
that was awkward.
It
was like he was on some sort of like podium that was spinning him around. It was
very
strange.
It was doing the iconic hand movement.
But it was cool the way that Krennic like got down, like
totally.
And that's another negative for me. Krennic's death, I think, was very unsatisfying. I wanted I had this like, this is my fault for coming with like preconceived ideas, but I had this sort of preconception that because we knew he was going to fail to catch the rebels and stop them getting the plans because of obviously the original trilogy, but I had this idea that he would fail and then Vader would confront him and mow him down. Speaking of Vader mowing him down, shall we go on to positives?
Yeah, positives. Let's go on to it. Darth Vader mowing him down. I mean, come on, like
That's it.
like we know what's going to happen all the way throughout the film. You've seen New Hope, I'm sure. We know this film's going to end. All the way through though, you're worried. Like, do we know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And my words, like Darth Vader's scene at the end,
Him going
in a room with rebels with a lightsaber.
pitch black.
That's all you need. That's all you need. And he. This
moment where the rebel's there, and then he goes up to the ceiling and like
throws
crosses
some guy to the side.
My
It
God.
is incredible.
So good.
And just I think Disney looked at that and like, we've got Vader, we've got these effects that we can accomplish now. We need to show what Vader can do.
Yeah.
Because we've never really seen it. We've seen Anakin, sure, but we want to see Darth Vader.
Kill the younglings.
Yeah, kill the younglings. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible, and I think I personally want to give like a congratulations to the stunt team on the film because they did fantastic with the action.
Yeah.
I felt like for all the other Star Wars films, I felt that this action was just stand out.
Yeah, it was something else, wasn't it?
It really was. Lots of explosions, lots of great reactions, and just skill in the film. So
Yeah.
Also, I want to say that this film is beautiful. Like for me,
visually,
this is the most beautiful Star Wars film I think has been released. Gareth Edwards has got a real eye for what he wants to show through visuals, and especially the fight, the space battle as well. That's for me the clearest space battle
Yeah,
that
that
we've
was
seen.
good.
I was never lost in that. Yeah, and then the characters, K2SO, Chirrut and Way, Darth Vader, of course. Apart from that first scene, and then Felicity Jones and Cassian Andor.
I liked the sort of complexities they had with a lot of the characters and stories, because for people who've read some of the books that are set between episode 3 and episode 4, you see a lot more sort of complexities to do with people on the Empire side who it's just a job for them. They're not bad guys. It's their job. They're doing it. It's not about the cause. And then people in the rebellion who aren't quite as nice, and you see that a lot in this film. So you see Saw Gerrera. He is like they actually call him an extremist because he goes to extreme levels to do things. He doesn't really care what happens to people as long as like we defeat the Empire. We need to defeat the Empire. And then you also have Cassian. Yeah. Well, I think the rebellion in general, we saw a different side to it. So it's kind of like
we saw that they're not all good people. they don't like.
They're willing to do whatever.
Yeah, they're desperate, you know. And I think we've always seen in 4, 5, and 6. I mean, I think there was probably a little bit more black and white then, but we see a grey side to the rebellion.
Yeah.
We see that they just want peace. They don't want the Empire here, and
even if it means killing people like Galen, who might be innocent, but
of course, like I think it's just they don't want to take chances because it could cost more lives, and I think that really did sell the story a lot more for me as well, seeing how desperate they were. And seeing Jeddah as well, their situation in Jeddah, and
it wasn't just black and white, which like I love the original trilogy, but sometimes you're kind of like, what are they fighting for? What are they fighting against? It's kind of good v evil, but this it just added so much more to it.
It shows what is good and evil.
Yeah,
I think, and I think I want to talk about the humour in the film. I think we mentioned it briefly in the start, but. It was surprisingly really funny.
Yeah, for the darkest Star Wars film yet. It was also maybe the funniest Star Wars film yet.
Definitely. I mean, K2SO and who else have we got? We've got Donnie Yen's character, Chirrut and Way.
Yeah. That line where the rebels get them and they put bags over their head. They put a bag over his head. And what are you doing? I'm blind. Like, that was so funny.
So that's for my positives. Do you want to talk about your favourite moments? The absolute, 3 favourite moments, I'd say.
Well, I have to go back to that Vader scene. In that Vader scene, I was sitting on the edge of my chair, hands over my face, physically shaking because I was because of the disappointment of the previous Vader scene. when it got to that, I was like,
So it made up
"What
for
are
it.
you
It
doing
made-
to me?" It was so. I could rewatch that scene over and over and over, and the
yeah.
way how the ending from that, and how now if we watch episode 4, it's just like got this sense of urgency. You know, it's like right now I've got to get them down. I've got to get those plans back.
And this is going to add to episode 4 so much.
Yeah.
I think we both agreed on that.
Definitely.
And seeing characters from the prequels as well. I mean, sure, we're not all fans of the prequels. I'm sure a lot of you aren't too. But there are some great cameos from there. I mean, let's talk about R2D2
and they weren't even thrown in.
No,
it
not
made
at all.
sense. That's the
No,
thing.
I mean, a couple cameos that I love: R2D2 and C3PO, of course.
Yeah,
So
and it made sense.
Princess Leia at the end. I mean,
Oh my god, that was so well done.
yeah, really. I mean, it was only for 5 seconds, but it was really well done.
And they cut it so you thought you weren't going to see her face, because you saw like the bottom of her, then you saw from behind her, and you're like, okay, we're not going to see it, and then you see
the
her.
editing was great as well. I saw no flaws.
But what was your favourite moment then, generally?
My favourite moment, generally, I mean, the Darth Vader scene. But I thought the fight on Scarif was incredible as well. I mean, just all the way through that.
I forgot about the opening scene. I really, really like the opening. It's like right, we're in the heart of the Empire's rule. We're on this planet, and I don't know. It just felt very gritty. That Krennic and the Death Troopers, which were a pretty cool were hunting them down. And I don't know. I just felt really gritty, and it sort of set the tone for the rest of the film, I think.
Yeah. So for our rating of the film, then.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into the rating?
I am.
Do you want to go? You go first.
Okay.
You go first.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because there's all my negatives are like specific little things that purely because I need some negatives, but if it was any other film, they wouldn't be a big deal. But because it's Star Wars and I care so much, it's like these little things. But yeah, 9 out of 10.
I think this is definitely one of my favourites. Definitely up there, within the top 3 for sure. And I'm sort of, I don't know about whether I feel it's better than Force Awakens or whether I feel that they're tied. I think they're quite different. I think especially in tone and for different things. I mean, Force Awakens is more Jedi orientated, whereas this is more about the politics and the Alliance and the Empire and things like that, which I love as well. So. But I think I'm going to give the same score, 9 out of 10 Troopers.
Good choice. 9 out of 10 Troopers.
So that's our review for Star Wars: A Rogue One, the story, and we'll catch you in the next review. Thank you.
Please subscribe and like and
Follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter and comment. Just tell us what you thought of the film. Just
Yeah, and what your expectations are for episode 8, which we'll see you for in December.
Yeah, in a year.